Chapter 15. The Path Forward. The morning after Clara released her letter to the sea dawned quietly, as though the world itself wished to honor the tenderness of the night before. A soft golden light filtered through her curtains, warming the room with a gentle glow. For the first time in a long while, Clara woke without the familiar heaviness pressing against her chest. She lay still for a moment, listening to the distant murmur of waves. The sound felt different now, not a reminder of loss but a steady, comforting presence. A rhythm she could lean into. A rhythm she could trust. Clara rose slowly, stretching as sunlight brushed her skin. She dressed without hurry, choosing a soft sweater and worn jeans, clothes that felt like home. When she stepped outside, the air was crisp and cool, carrying the scent of dew and wildflowers. She walked toward the beach. The path felt familiar yet new. Each step carried a lightness she hadn't felt in months, perhaps years. The grief was still there, but it no longer consumed her. It had softened, reshaped itself into something she could hold without breaking. When she reached the shoreline, she paused. The sea stretched before her, calm and shimmering under the early morning sun. The tide was low, revealing smooth stones and tiny shells glistening like scattered pearls. Clara inhaled deeply, letting the salty air fill her lungs. She walked along the water's edge, her feet sinking into the cool sand. The waves lapped gently at her ankles, playful and inviting. She smiled, a small, genuine smile that surprised her with its ease. As she walked, her thoughts drifted to Elias and Lila. Their story had begun with a promise under the moon and ended with a love that refused to fade. They had been separated by storms, by memory, by time itself, yet their devotion had endured. Clara felt honored to have uncovered their truth, to have carried their story forward. She thought of Lila's letters, full of hope and longing. She thought of Elias's final message, carved into stone and sealed in a wooden box. She thought of the ring, the rose, the compass, symbols of a love that had shaped two lives and now touched hers. Their story had healed something inside her, had reminded her that love, in all its forms, leaves traces that time cannot erase. Clara continued walking until she reached a small patch of dune grass. Something caught her eye, a delicate white flower blooming among the green blades. She knelt beside it, brushing her fingers lightly over its petals. A new bloom. A quiet sign. A reminder that life continues even after loss. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. Ben. She thought of him now, not with the sharp sting of grief, but with a soft ache, the kind that comes from love remembered, not love lost. She could almost hear his laughter carried on the breeze, could almost feel his presence beside her. "I'm still here," she whispered, not to him but to herself. She stood and continued walking, letting the sun warm her face. The lighthouse rose in the distance, its silhouette steady and familiar. She paused to look at it, the place where she had cried, searched, discovered, healed. It no longer felt haunted. It felt like a guardian, a keeper of stories, a witness to her transformation. Clara made her way back toward town, her steps unhurried. She passed familiar faces. Mrs. Harper tending her garden, Mr. Whitaker sweeping the steps of the Historical Society. They greeted her with warm smiles and she returned them with ease. She felt connected again. Rooted. Present. When she reached her cottage, she paused at the door, taking in the quiet beauty of the morning. She felt a sense of peace settle over her. Not the fragile peace she had clung to in the early days of her grief, but a deeper, steadier one. Inside, she sat at her small wooden table and opened her notebook. The pages were filled with her journey, letters to Ben, sketches of symbols, notes about Elias and Lila. She flipped to a blank page and let her pen hover for a moment. Then she began to write. Not a letter this time. Not a plea. Not a confession. But a beginning. She wrote about the morning light. About the flower in the dunes. About the quiet strength she felt blooming inside her. About the future, open, uncertain but no longer frightening. When she finished, she closed the notebook gently. Clara stood and walked to the window. The sea glimmered in the distance, endless and full of possibility. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling its steady rhythm. She was not the same woman who had found the bottle on the beach. She was not the same woman who had been drowning in grief. She had changed. She had grown. She had healed. And she was ready. With a soft smile, Clara whispered into the quiet room. Love always finds its way home. And this time she believed it.